For more on China's diplomatic efforts, let's go right to Chen Chenchen. She's with Renmin University, where she's a research fellow at the Institute of Economic Reform and Development. Great to see you again.
Great to see you, Elaine.
Well, how significant is this new visa development between Brazil and China, and how soon do you think we could see travelers booking flights and taking advantage of it?
Well, this mutual 10-year visa actually mirrors a deepening relationship between these two countries, especially China's people-centered cooperation model with Brazil. This is actually reflects the increasing momentum in global South cooperation, which means under the top-down strategic alignment, now there's a greater emphasis on bottom-up driving force from tourists, from private sector, from SMEs, from think tanks, from the general public. I would say the tourists from these two ancient civilizations, they have long been attractive to each other's, but now this visa will facilitate greater exchange, and the civilizational level exchange will be great driving force for the mutual development.
Right, not just tourism, but certainly business, as you mentioned. President Lula da Silva is no stranger to China and vice versa. Brazil had a very good relationship during his previous terms in office, and there was a lot of trade going back and forth, which had sort of a pause during the Bolsonaro period. What are some of the other trade and investment opportunities we could see between these two countries?
Well, the common concerns, especially emphasized by the top leaders from both China and Brazil, include green energy, digital economy, food supply. So these are all growth areas for the investment and trade. And besides, actually, what's going on in Brazil is the G20. That is the broadest mechanism outside the UN. So there will be more equal dialogue between these two countries in coordinating their market access and standardization.
China and Brazil also have a deep relationship as BRICS countries, as original members. How would you describe their diplomatic ties and the relationship looking forward?
Well, in the past 10 years, we can see very frequent top-level exchanges between these two countries. And given the very profound changes in international landscape, we can see the bilateral relationship in these two countries in the past decade transcended the bilateral bounds, but has a very significant global impact. Throughout these years, you can see these two countries have lots of efforts of coordinating in UN, in BRICS, in G20, and even in the multilateralism in WTO. So in the future, we can actually see more such coordination efforts in the equal or inclusive poverty reduction, inclusive development, and to promote the economic globalization.
Well, you mentioned the G20 meeting, the G20 foreign ministers meeting is happening right now in Brazil. Rio de Janeiro is hosting the leaders meeting later this year. As we know, global conflicts will top the agenda at this foreign ministers meeting. But what other types of talks do you think we could expect to take place between all of the nations represented this week?
Well, it is really a big challenge for Brazil as this new G20 chair, because as you said, it really needs to balance the agenda between security concerns and development agenda. So Brazil has made it very clear that now it needs to adhere to G20 core mission of focusing on the economic international cooperation and prioritize climate change, sustainable development, energy transition, and poverty reduction. So it is expected that actually this week, these countries together will regain the consensus to focus on the economic growth to allow pragmatic discussions rather than steering clear of politicization of these issues.
Chen Chenchen, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time and your insight.
My pleasure, Elaine.